Hey, greetings, family. Greetings, 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 greetings. What's going on? This is Chief Kalinago. How y'all doing? Well, first off, I want to acknowledge the Great Spirit, universal intelligence, universal I am, the universal all. I want to acknowledge and give thanks and honor to my ancestors. I want to thank them for guiding me and protecting me. And let's get into this. All right. Do me a favor, share this link on your respective platforms because I'm going to disseminate a lot of information here today. I hope you guys are ready. All righty. Um, Let me make sure I'm good on YouTube and I'm good on Facebook. Let me make sure I got some audio. Give me 1 second here while I give you guys some time to get into this. And I'm good on Facebook. All right. I'm good on YouTube. Let's make sure we're good on Facebook. Give me 1 second. All right, guys. The information I'm about to share here with you today is strictly for educational purposes. All right. You do what you want with the information. I'm just an educator. This is public information. Just so you know, I'm just sharing the information with y'all. All right. Like I told you guys before, when I do these whether you want to call it lessons or whenever I bring the information to you, I don't ask anybody for anything. Okay, I don't ask anybody to send me anything, but a lot of people are now asking me, hey Chief, do you have a Cash App? So I just put it there just in case you guys want to support and donate, but I'm not asking, but people are requesting it. They say, hey Chief, I appreciate what you're doing, so they're asking if I have a Cash App. So the Cash App is in the link. If you feel free and you want to support, that's good. If you don't, then it's all love. I'm going to continue teaching. Okay. Today, I'm going to talk to you about marriage licenses. I'm going to talk to you about in loco parentis, parentis or parentis. I'm also going to talk to you about the Social Security number. All right. With that being said, again, it doesn't matter what I teach you, what I show you. A lot of people are still going to do what they have to do, and I respect it. Okay. They say when you know better, you do better. That's true. But a lot of times people know better and they don't do better. So I say, when you know better, you should do better. All right. They say knowledge is power, but no, I like to take it a little further and say the implementation of the knowledge is the true power. Okay. One thing you have to know is this. If you don't know, whenever you get married through the traditional system, which is, going to get a license and all that. For those of you who don't know, your marriage is not between you, your husband, or your wife and God. No. In that case, the government is God. Okay, whether you want to believe it or not, that's on you. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm just here to give you the plain old truth. Okay, so whenever you get a license to get married, okay, not the traditional way, not how we used to do it in our culture or our customs. I'm talking about with what we were taught. Go get a license, in a city hall, all that stuff. I'm letting you know your marriage is not between you, your husband, or your wife and God. Okay, it's between you, your husband, or your wife and the government. In that case, the government is the middleman and the government is playing God. Okay, and I'm going to prove that to you today. Whether you like it or not, that's just the truth. It is what it is. So we're going to start off with marriage licenses and a gentleman and his experience. I'm going to share that with you. So with that being said, let me share my screen. Okay. Or let me share the first document I want to share with you. All right. And we're going to talk about marriage licenses. Okay. Here we go. I hope you guys are ready for this. You could take notes or you could go back and look at the video when I'm done with it. All right. Did you know that when you got into, hold up, did you know what you got into when you utilized a marriage license from the state? All right. Like I said, whenever you apply for a marriage license, you're asking for permission to get married. And when they give you permission, God is the government, not who you think it is, at least based on the contract. Because a marriage license is a contract between you, your spouse, and the government. It is not between God. I just want y'all to know this. I have to keep reiterating that. Okay. And that's how that is the first contract for them to get within that marriage or that business, because marriage is a business. Okay. Keep in mind, the United States is a corporation. So anything that's done in the United States is done for commercial purposes. You guys have to keep that in mind. All right. And that's why people perish, because they perish for the lack of knowledge. So keep in mind, a marriage is a business, and you are asking for permission to kind of like participate in commerce or the commercial aspect of what they call a marriage. Okay. So you were tricked into signing your children over to the state, and it first starts off with the marriage certificate or the birth certificate. But today we are going to talk about the marriage certificate, marriage licenses, and this is the real truth. And this is by Virgil Cooper. Okay. And I'm going to tell the story through his experience. Okay. Enlightening conversation with a marriage license bureau. Now, that's a conversation that he had with a marriage license bureau about 15 years ago. It's probably about 20 years now. Okay. But based on when he wrote that document, or he made the report, that was about 15 years ago. All right. But about 15 years ago, my former wife of 26 years filed for divorce. And I'm speaking as Virgil, okay, the gentleman who created this document. All right. So he was married for 26 years and his wife filed for divorce. We had 7 children, 5 daughters and 2 sons. Our youngest at the time, our second son, was 5 years old. At the time, I prepared a counterclaim to the petition for dissolution that her attorney filed in domestic relation DR court. I met one afternoon with the head of the Maricopa County Superior Court Marriage License Bureau in downtown Phoenix. The Marriage License Bureau was headed by a young woman of about 25 years of age. I asked her to explain to me the general and statutory implications of the marriage license. She was very cooperative, and she called in an assistant, a tall black man who at that time was working on an operations manual for the internal department use. She deferred for most technical explanations to her assistant. He walked through the technicalities of the marriage licenses as it operates in Arizona. He mentioned that marriage licensing is pretty much the same in other states, but there are differences. One significant difference he mentioned was that Arizona is one of the 8 Western states that are community property states. The other states are common law states, including Utah, with the exception of Louisiana, which is a Napoleonic code state. He then explained some of the technicalities of the marriage license. He said, first of all, the marriage license is a secular contract between the parties and the state. Once again, your marriage license is a secular contract between the parties, the wife, the husband, the wife, and the state. It is not between you and God. Please keep that in mind. Get your feelings out of the way. Get your emotions out of the way and look at the truth. Okay, whether you wanted to think what you wanted to think is not going to change the fact God has nothing to do with your marriage. Yes, in your heart, yes, you may think and believe and that God has something to do with it. And by all means, you could be absolutely correct. But when it comes to the state, okay, the state is who's playing God with that contract. I have to make that very clear. The state is the principal party in that contract. So in other words, the state again is playing God. God is not the principal party. The state is. Okay. The husband and wife are secondary or inferior parties. So the husband and the wife, they are secondary parties in that contract. Okay. Because why? The contract is created by the government. So therefore, the government has the most benefits from that contract. The secular contract is a 3-way contract between the state as the principal and the husband and wife as the other 2 legs of the contract. That's why on every marriage contract, you will see that the name of the state is on the head of that certificate. All right. Meaning that the state is the one that's the principal, okay, party in that contract. He said, in the traditional sense, a marriage is a covenant between the husband, the wife, and God. Yes, in a traditional sense. But whenever you get the state involved, it is no longer a traditional marriage. Now, once again, even if you hear the truth, I know a lot of women get emotional about weddings, and you have every right to. However, this is the truth. And a lot of you may still know the truth and still want a man to go down on his knees, go get a certificate, and you get married, because a lot of you don't care about the truth. You more care about the emotional aspect of things. And that's why your children, our children, are being faced with what they're being faced with. Why? Because the children don't belong to you. Okay? So like I said, get your emotions out of this. All right? I have to keep reiterating that. But in the secular contract with the state, reference to God is a dotted line and not officially included in the secular contract at all. Okay? He said, if the husband and the wife wish to include God as a party in their marriage, that is a dotted line. They would have to add in their own minds. The state marriage licenses is strictly secular, he said. He said further that what he meant by the relationship to God being a dotted line meant that the state regards any mention of God as irrelevant, even meaningless. Okay, so therefore, when you go get a license from the state and a pastor or a preacher or a minister marries you, okay, when he mentions God, that's irrelevant to the state. It don't matter. In that case, the state is playing God. Okay. In his description of the marriage license contract, the related one, other dotted line, he said in the traditional religious context, marriage was a covenant between the husband, wife, and God, with husband and wife joined as one. That's in traditional sense. All right. This is not the case in the secular realm of state marriage license contract. The state is the principal or the dominant party. The husband and wife are merely contractually joined as business partners, not in any religious union. Okay. So you think it's a religious union? No. All right. Just so you know, you and your husband or your wife are contractually joined in a business partnership. Okay. It's a business partnership. And the state is giving you the license to operate the business of marriage in whatever state that is. Okay. The picture he was trying to paint was that of a triangle with the state at the top and the solid line extending from the apex, the state down the left side to the husband, and a separate solid line extending down the right to the wife. A dotted line merely showing that they consider themselves to have entered into a religious union of some sort that is irrelevant to the state. All right. So this is what the image represents here. All right. He further mentioned that the religious overtone is recognized by the state by requiring that the marriage must be solemnized either by a state official or by a minister of religion that has been deputized by the state to perform the marriage ceremony and make a return of the signed, executed marriage license to the state. Okay, just like when your child is being born, the birth certificate, okay, would have to be signed, but it would have to be registered in the state. Is the same thing with the minister. A minister is an agent of the state, working for the state, and when he solemnly swear to marry you guys together, then he has to sign that document and surrender that to the state. All right, because that now belongs to the state. So on top, you have the marriage license, the secular contract, you have the state as the primary party. All right. Then you have the husband as the secondary party, the wife as the secondary party, and then you have God below. Okay, now that's in the case of the state. Now, may I repeat, in your mind, yes, you're putting God first because you think you're having a traditional wedding. But anytime the state get involved, no, the state plays God. All right. And that's a fact. Okay. Again, he emphasized that the marriage is strictly a secular relationship so far as the state is concerned, and because it is looked upon as a privilege, a business enterprise, various tax advantages and other political privileges have become attached to the marriage license contract that has nothing at all to do with a marriage as a religious covenant or a bond between God, the man, and the woman. All right. In as much as a lot of people may not want to believe this, this is absolutely a fact. Okay. You are asking for permission to get married, and it's a privilege that they are giving you. All right. To get married in that state. So therefore, it's a business. Why do you think over 75% of people who get married, they get divorced? Why? Because they don't understand that it's a business. You see, they go into it, yes, for the right reasons. However, since it's a business and the amount of pressure that's being put in that business, and over 99% of the population, they don't understand business. That's why marriages fail, because they don't see it as a business. Okay? By the way of reference, if you would like to read a legal treatise on marriage, one of the best is Principle of Community Property by William Dufresne. At the offset, he explains that the community property law descends from the Roman civil law through the Spanish codes, 600 AD, written by the Spanish jurist consults. Like I told y'all before, the United States is an extension of Rome. Okay, and when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans do. Now, in the civil law, the marriage is considered to be a for-profit venture or for-profit making venture, even though it may never actually produce a profit in operation, as the wife goes out to the local market to purchase foodstuff, and the supplies for the marriage household. She is replenishing the stock of the business. To restate, in the civil law, the marriage is considered to be a business venture that is a for-profit business venture. Moreover, as children come into the marriage household, the business venture is considered to have borne fruit. So your children are fruits of the labor of the business. Okay, so therefore, the people who own the business, control the business, they own the fruits of the labor from that business, which is the government. That's why they're able to come take your children, and you cannot do a thing about it. Why? Because you have that contract. Number one, you sign that contract, that marriage license. And if you're not married, then they do it through the birth certificate. So either way, it's a license. It's a license to bear fruit. And your children are the fruits of that relationship. Okay? Now, back to the explanation by the Maricopa County Superior Court, Marriage Bureau's administrative assistants. He went on to explain that every contract must have consideration. The state offers the consideration in the form of an actual license itself, the piece of paper, the certificate of the marriage. Remember, in every contract, there have to be a consideration. If you don't like the consideration, you could give them your terms and conditions. But you see, a lot of people are not educated. They don't know. And people do things strictly based off emotions. If you don't know the United States is a business and you're operating in commerce, even when you get married, your children are considered commercial entity, commercial property. And then you willingly give them away through the birth certificate. That's a fact. Okay? That's a fact. So family, especially my sisters, I'm not saying that you cannot get emotional over your wedding. I'm not saying that. But know what you are doing, because you have been brainwashed, okay? Too westernized. And that's what's happening. And you don't realize the contracts that you're getting into because you think it's your big day, which it is. But you're giving away, okay? It's a business. And you're giving away the fruits and labor of that business, because you are not in control. All right. The other part of the consideration by the state is the privilege to be regulated by the statute. Okay. So therefore, anytime you get a license, they have a right to regulate your marriage through a statute. Okay. He added that this privilege to be regulated by the statute includes all related statutes and all court cases as they are ruled on by the courts, and all statutes and regulations into the future in years following the commencement of the marriage. He said, in a way, the marriage license contract is a dynamic or flexible, okay, ever-changing contract as time goes along, even though the husband and wife didn't realize that. My thought on this is, can it really be considered a true contract as one becomes aware of the failure by the state to make full disclosure of the terms and conditions? Just so y'all know, okay, that is fraud. Anytime you go into a contract and the full details of the contract, okay, it wasn't foretold, okay, full disclosure before, okay, the contract, then it could be deemed lawfully as fraud, okay, because you were not told the full details of the contracts. Okay. A contract must be entered into knowingly, intelligently, intentionally, and with fully informed consent. Okay, just like the birth certificate, they tricked you into that as well. So all these contracts, okay, are fraudulent contracts. Just so you know. Another way to look at the marriage license contract with the state is a contract of adhesion, a contract between two desperate, unequal parties. Those are called adhesion contracts. Okay, again, a flawed contract. Such a contract with the state is said to be specific performance contract as to the privilege, duties, and responsibilities that attach. Consideration on the part of the husband and wife is the actual fee paid and the implied agreement to be subject to the state's statutes, rules, and regulations, and all court cases ruled on related to the marriage law, family law, children, and property. He emphasized that this contractual consideration by the bride and groom places them in a definite and defined by law position inferior and subject to the state. Okay, he commented that very few people realize that. So in essence, when you sign that contract, okay, you become inferior in that contract, and you and your husband and your children become subjects of that state. He also said that it is very important to understand that children born into the marriage are considered by law as the contract bearing fruit, meaning the children primarily belong to the state, even though the law never comes out and says so in so many words, because it is implied, okay, it is suggested, it is assumed that once you get married, you don't know what you signed. So therefore, the fruits of the labor, just like in the old time days when there was slavery, anytime slaves had children, the children belonged to the slave master. Okay. So just so y'all know, this is just another way they disguised, okay, the continuation of children being born out of slavery. Okay. Like I said, you guys could put your emotions in this if you want. I'm just giving you the facts. If after you know this, you still want to go downtown, wherever you got to go, and get a marriage license to do it their way, that's on you. Okay, that's on you. But you pay for the consequences of your ignorance. Okay. In this regard, children born to the contract are regarded as the contract bearing fruit. He said it is vitally important for parents to understand two doctrines that became established in the United States during the 1930s. The first one is the doctrine of Parens, patriae, okay, and then the second is the doctrine of LOCO, parentis. So what we're going to do is this: we're going to go and we're going to look at this one. Let me copy that. Parens, patriae. Let me stop sharing my screen real quick, and we are going to go to that. And we're going to look it up. All right. Just so y'all know. Oh, give me. Now I'll share that with y'all. All right, let me just share it with you. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. So we are looking at two different definitions, and that was implemented in the 1930s, okay? And this is the pronunciation.
Parens, patriae.
Parens, patriae.
Parens, patriae.
Parens, patriae.
Parens, patriae.
Okay, now that's noun and that's law. Okay, that's law. The government or any other authority regarded as the legal protector of citizens unable to protect themselves. So in other words, that's why they call you minorities. Okay, that's why they call people minorities, not because we are few in number. It is because people are not capable of thinking for themselves. Okay, they are considered indigents, needy people, just like people who go to jail. They're considered indigents because they are needy people. So the government is looking at the population as needy people. They cannot think for themselves. They give you every 4 years, they give you a chance to say, hey, listen, we don't want to be governed by anybody, but y'all rush to the polls and put them in office again, giving them, indicating that you are children and you cannot take care of yourselves. You see, y'all got to see the thing that's happening and what's going on. But like I said, people do things strictly out of emotion and not because they know. They think they know, but they don't know. So parens,
patriae.
Parens, patriae, the government or any other authority regarded as the legal protector of the citizens unable to protect themselves. The principle that political authority carries the responsibility for the protection of the citizens, every aspect of your life. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is in loco parentis. All right, let me stop sharing my screen. Let me take this link right here, and I'm going to put that in the chat for y'all. Okay, so you have that. Here we go. And we're going to look at the next one, in loco parentis. All right, that was instituted in the 1930s. Definition in loco parentis. Here we go. We're going to look at the definition first, and then we're going to look at the etymology. In loco parentis.
In loco parentis.
Okay, it's an adverb first and an adjective. All right, with reference to a teacher, other adult responsible for children in the place of the parent. So when you put, first off, it starts with the license to get married. Okay, where you're letting the state know that, hey, we cannot take care of our responsibilities, so we need you to intervene and play God. That's what you're saying in essence. Okay, and then when you have your children, when you put your children in the school, automatically in loco parentis kicks in, even if you don't know. Okay, that's just how it happens automatically. So therefore, the teachers take the place of the parents. The adjective, acting or done in the place of the parents. Now, let's go look at the etymology of that word. Okay, the etymology will drive that home for y'all. The etymology of the word. Etymology of in loco parentis. Here we are. Simply put, okay? In loco parentis, legal Latin, 1640s in English, literally in the place of the parent, okay? In the place of the parent. So that's why teachers could do certain things, because they take the place. Anytime you put, let me tell you something, teachers have more authority over the parents, just so y'all know. Teachers have more authority over the parents. Now, I'm going to also look at the etymology of custody. All right? Custody. I hope y'all ready for this. Custody, a keeping, a guardian, safekeeping, protection, defense, guardian. So that's why in court, they always say that the custodial parent have the most right, which is normally the mother. So now you see what custody means: a keeping, a guardian, safekeeping, guardian. Let's look at custodial. Custodial, relating to or of nature of custody or guardianship. So just so you know, okay, because you have a birth certificate for your child or you have a marriage license, you are only a custodial parent. You are only a guardian to your child. The state owns the children, but they give you permission to be a guardian to the child. That's why CPS could walk into your house anytime and take their children. It is their property. It is not yours. You see, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. And that's a fact. I'm not here for a debate. I'm here to give you the truth, whether you like it or not. So the state owns the children. That's their property because you signed them away. You gave them away with the contracts. Okay? Adhesion contracts, unilateral contracts, one-sided contracts, because they gave you a consideration, okay? And you took it without saying, hey, you know what? That's not, I think I need to readjust this contract. This is not going to work for me. You have a choice. You don't have to accept contracts. That's not going to work in your best interest. But unknowingly to you, you signed the contract without prior and informed information of the full detail of the contract. Okay, so remember, it's a business. So custodial, if you don't believe me, go to court. They're gonna ask you, who is the custodial parent? In other words, who did we give permission to be the guardian of the child? Keep in mind, we are the parents. So the government is the parents, and we are just the guardian of that child or children. Okay, let's go back. Oh, I wasn't even sharing my screen. Give me a second. Let me share my screen here for a second. I want y'all to see this, okay? So we have custodial first. Custodial, relating to or of the nature of custody or guardian. Okay, that's what custodial means. So if you ever see there's a dispute between a mother and a father, and they happen to go to family court, okay, or if a police come for a situation, they will ask if there's a young child involved and somebody's going to get arrested. They're going to ask who is the custodial parent. Okay, all that means is who have the authority or permission to be the guardian of that child. Now let us look at custody. Custody. Okay. Custody is keeping, a guardian, safekeeping, protection, defense, guarding, watching, keeping. Okay. Also prison, guardian, keeper, protector. All right. So just so y'all know. All right. Let me stop sharing that screen and let's go back to the document. Share. Okay, so here we go. So we broke down parentis, patriae, and we broke down in loco parenti. All right. Parens, patriae means literally the parent of the country, or to state it may more bluntly, the state is the undisclosed true parent. So anytime you sign a you get the marriage license and you have children through that marriage or even the birth certificate underlying, okay, you don't know that the government or the state is the undisclosed true parent and you are nothing but a guardian. And that was instituted in the 1930s and it still stands today. Okay, along this line, in 1930s, Arizona Supreme Court case states that parents have no property right in their children and have custody of their children during good behavior at the sufferance of the state. I'm going to repeat that. Along this line, a 1930s Arizona Supreme Court case states that parents have no property right in their children okay, and have custody of the children. In other words, they're just guardian during, if they have good behavior, okay? If there's a little argument in your home between you and your child father or your baby mama and somebody complain, that means you're misbehaving. They could send CPS and take their children, okay? Just so y'all know. This means that the parents may raise their children and maintain custody of their children as long as they don't offend the state. So as long as you don't offend the true parents, which is the state, you get to keep their children and you are just a guardian for them. But, okay, but if they in some manner displease the state can step in at any time and exercise its superior status and take custody and control of its children. The parents are only conditional caretakers, thus the doctrine of en loco parentis or parentis. Okay? He also added a few more technical details. The marriage license is an ongoing contractual relationship with the state. Technically, the marriage license is a business license allowing the husband and wife in the name of the marriage to enter into contracts with third parties and contract mortgages and debts. Okay, they can get car loans, home mortgages, and installment debts in the name of the marriage because it is not only a secular enterprise, but it's looked upon by the state as a privileged business enterprise as well as for-profit business enterprise. The marriage contract acquires property throughout its existence and over time. It is hoped increase in value because anytime within the business of the marriage, anything that increases in value, the state as the head or the principal party, they benefit the most. Okay, the marriage contract bears fruit by adding children. If sometime later the marriage fails and a divorce results in the contract continues in existence, the divorce is merely a contractual dissolution or amendment of the terms and conditions of the contract. Jurisdiction over the state, over the marriage, over the husband and wife, now separated, continues over all aspects of marriage, over the marital property, and over children brought into the marriage. Now, just so y'all know, even when you get a divorce, all it means is that the divorce is also another contract, and all it means is just an amendment and terms of conditions of the new contract. In their eyes, you are still married, because there's still business being done through that contract, that certificate, because there's property and children that came from that union. So in their eyes, that marriage is still, or that certificate is still valid. Although you think that you are divorced, yes, technically you are, but in business, that contract still exists, just so y'all know, okay? That is why family law, that is why family law and the domestic relations court calls divorce a dissolution of the marriage, because the contract continues in operation, but in amended or modified form. He also pointed out that the marriage license contract is one of the strongest, most binding contractual relationships the state has on people. Okay? It is one of the strongest contracts. Why? Because it is a trinity, and the marriage is taking over the trinity. The trinity is the mother, father, and child. And the state is coming into that trinity. That's why it is the strongest and the most powerful contract, okay, in the relationship between state and people, okay? At the end of our long meeting, I somewhat humorously asked if other people had come in and asked the question I was asking. The assistant replied that in the several years he had worked there, he has not been aware of anyone else asking these questions. He added that he was very glad to see someone interested in the legal implications of the marriage license and the contractual relationship it creates with the state. His boss, the young woman marriage department head, stated, "You have to understand that people who come in here to get a marriage license are in heat. Okay, because you guys are in heat, all right? You go get a license without thinking about the implications and the contract that you're signing because you want to get married and go have sex and have children. All right. The last thing they want to know is technical, legal, and statutory implications of the marriage license. I hope this is helpful information to anyone interested in getting more familiar with the contractual implications of the marriage license. The marriage license, as we know, it didn't come into existence until the Civil War and didn't become standard practice in all states until after 1900, becoming firmly established by 1920. In effect, the states or governments appropriated or usurped control of marriages in secular form, and in the process declared common law applicable to marriage abrogated. Okay, so they got rid of the common law and they tricked people with the certificates. Why? Because they have to take control of the union and the fruits of the labor of that union. Okay, essentially, the husband and the wife became married to the state. Anything the two produced became the property and control of the state. Such contracts can be considered void due to non-disclosure or can be terminated when full disclosure is realized. So again, it's up to you. All right. Because of the knowledge, you have every single right to terminate that contract due to lack of full disclosure because it was done fraudulently. Okay. Just so y'all know. Now, what I'm going to do at this time. Now, once again, guys, I'm not here to give any legal advice. I'm just here to give you the truth, give you the information. You do what you want with it. If you want to continue to get into these contracts and give away your children, that's on you. Okay? That's on you. That is the downfall of us not coming together, doing group economics, us not coming together and creating our own system. Okay? That's some of the repercussions of not doing that, because you have to depend on the state. You feel me? Now, let us get into the Social Security number. Let me go ahead and share that screen with you guys. Once again, this is just educational purposes, for educational purposes, and this is public knowledge, okay? You just have to know where to get the information, to get the research, and that's what I'm here for, all right? Securing today and tomorrow, Social Security Administration, and that is from their handbook. I'm not the one making that up, okay? Social Security number for children. socialsecurity.gov, all right? When you have a baby, one of the things that should be on your to-do list is to get your newborn a Social Security number. The easiest time to do this is when you give information for your child's birth certificate while you are still at the hospital. If you wait to apply for a number at a Social Security office, there may be delays while we verify your child's birth certificate. Why should I get a Social Security number for my child? You need a Social Security number to claim your child as a dependent on your income tax. Your child may also need a number if you plan to open a bank account for the child, buy saving bonds for the child, get medical coverage for the child, or apply for government services for the child. So basically they're saying, okay, you don't need the Social Security. Well, you don't have to get a social, but if you don't get one, then you may miss out on all these privileges. So you see how, and that's why I told you guys, I really have to order that Monopoly to break that down for y'all, the game of Monopoly. Okay, because that's what this is all about. It's all a game, and you need that token to play. Those certificates are the token. Okay, so must my child have a Social Security number? And that's straight from the Social Security office. Getting a Social Security number for your child is what? Voluntary. But you hear that? But getting a number when your child is born is a good idea. You see what I'm saying? So nobody could force you to get one. However, they're saying if you want to play the game, you want to open a bank account, you want to do this, you want to do that, it would be in your best interest to have one. So you see, it's like they give you, it's a voluntary system, but they set it up where even if it's voluntary, you don't have a choice. You see what I'm saying? Once again, that's why it's imperative that we create our own. But I've been on this journey for so long that people are so blind that even if you show them the information, they're so selfish and so about self. They don't want to come together because we could create our own. You feel me? The United States is a voluntary system. It's a business. You don't have to participate in the business. But I could only do so much, man. That's why I tell people I'm just so ahead of my time. Sometimes I just want to, you know, go to another planet and just create my own universe, man, like for real. Okay, so basically, the big question is, must my child have a social security number? And here's the answer for you folks. Getting a social security number for your newborn is what? It is voluntary. All right? Now, how do you apply? When you give your information at the hospital, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right? Now, here's some interesting things. Okay? At the Social Security office, blah, 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 show the original, show your documents. Note, in some localities, the post office, okay, blah, 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 children age 12, blah, 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 blah. All right, citizenship, we can accept only citizen documents as proof of U.S. citizenship, blah, 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 photo ID, blah, 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 blah. Now, check this out. Religious record made before the age of 5 showing the date of birth of the child. Okay? Now, if you don't have a birth certificate, all right, religious records, remember back in the days, they used to put the birth of children in Bibles. So you could still do that today. If you don't want to give your child a birth certificate, you could go ahead and record that in a Bible, preferably a King James 1611. Okay? Keep that in mind. All right? Now, identity. Your child, we can accept only certain documents as proof of your child's identity. An acceptable document must be current, not expired, and show your child's name, identifying information, and preferably a recent photograph. All right? They're telling you what they accept as identity for your children. However, you must provide at least 2 separate documents. Okay, here are some of the documents. A state-issued non-driver's identification card, adoption decree, a doctor, a clinic or hospital, religious record, which is a Bible, okay? A Bible, and you could have a minister, okay, be also a witness to that, okay? School identification, hospital. So even if you do it in a Bible, okay, and you take your child to the hospital, you could still get a record that that's your child, and that would be considered the 2 forms of identification for your child. So you don't necessarily have to get a birth certificate per se, all right? So I'm just giving you guys a little bit of the jewels. Once again, you do what you want with the information. I'm just here to give you the education. All right, guys? So this is the full extent of what I wanted to share with you guys. Once again, just so you know, let me just kind of summarize that when you get married and you apply for a marriage certificate, okay, you are automatically getting into contracts where Parens, patriae kicks in, where it means that you are now an indigent, a needy person. You can't take care of yourself. So you are saying telling the government that we know that we are incapable of taking care of ourselves, so you get to be the parent. That's number one. Then the second that kicks in is in LOCO parentis, meaning that the government also owns the child, and even if you put them in school, the teachers have more authority over you, over your children. So now that they belong to the government. All right. So I just want to kind of share that with you guys. Once again, you do what you want with the information. The social security number, all that stuff is voluntary. Everything is voluntary, but they're making it so hard for you to operate outside of that corporation that you feel the need to participate, and that's fine. But know that it's a contract. know that it's a contract. All right. So I hope you guys found some value with this information. Please do your own research. Don't believe anything that I tell you. All right. But all this ties into the game of Monopoly. Okay. And those are tokens that you need to play the game. Okay. It's like you're not in the game. You're supposed to be playing the game and not be in the game. And that's why I really want to break down the Monopoly for you guys, but I don't have one. And I have to order one or go get one from some store. All right. But you're supposed to play the game and learn how to play the game, but not be in the game. And over 97% of the population is in the game thinking that they are actually the pieces in the game when they're supposed to be playing the game. You see what I'm saying? You think you are the birth certificate, but you are not the birth certificate. You think you are the name on the birth certificate. No, it is only a token to play the game. That's all it is, but you think it's you. You see what I'm saying? And that's just the bottom line. All right, guys. So you guys have an amazing continuation. Once again, like I said, a lot of people ask, hey, Chief, how can we support? By all means, feel free to. I'm not asking because I never ask for anything to do these presentations or these, classes. Okay. I do this because of the love. But people are inboxing me, hey, Chief, what's your Cash App? We would like to support you, to show our appreciation. So here it is, but it's not mandatory. But if you do, I would appreciate it. I appreciate that as well. So you guys have a good one, and I will talk to you guys later. Love y'all. Take care.